Today, I'm going to give you the top 10 underrated cards in Attack on Titan Apocalypse. I call these plant your flag cards because I'm not afraid to put my name on them and take ownership. By underrated, what I mean is that I think these cards are a lot stronger than what you as the viewer think they are. So that should leave me feeling a little bit like this throughout the video. And any disagreements that you may have, you are more than welcome to share those disagreements in the comment section. If there's a lot of disagreements, that means that I've done this video right. Because if all of my underrated cards, you guys say, oh yeah, those are great cards and we're right with you, then I've clearly done this video very, very wrong. Let's start out by looking at my top 10. I would typically make this into its own video, but I think the top 10 cards in Apocalypse are pretty generally agreed upon by the player base at large. And so I'm looking for this video is about the 10 cards where there's the greatest gap between what you think about a card and what I think about a card. Still though, top 10 is a good place to start because maybe there's some cards in my top 10 that aren't in your top 10, or I have them a lot higher than what you might have. So these are my top 10 cards in Attack on Titan Apocalypse. And for the vast majority of this, I think most everybody agrees with me. So, there's 7 of these that Colossal Confrontation, Unyielding Destruction, Moment of Normalcy, Falling Titans, Warhammer Titan Attacks, 9 Titans from Throughout the Ages, and Military Tactics. I think everybody in the player base considers these top 10 cards, and there's not going to be a lot of disagreement. I might be wrong, and let me know if I am wrong. Maybe Moment of Normalcy I'm higher on than the general player base. I think it's a top 10 foundation in the game. But I've heard it discussed a lot, and I think everybody in general agrees that it's at least top 10 in this set. But there's 3 cards here. Falco's Jaw Titan Attacks and Filled with Doubt. I have them in the top 10. I think most people would leave them out of their personal top 10s. And then Resurrected Titans, I think, is the strongest card in the set. So let's start out with that one. Resurrected Titans, 8 difficulty, 7-bit 7. You get to, before you check, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck and choose which one you check. So in practice, you're almost always checking a 5 or 6 on this card. It's going to be like 10% of the time, maybe, is when you check a 3 on this, when both of the top cards of your decks are 3s. And then what can you do? But 9 out of 10 times, you're checking a 5. So you're committing 3 foundations. But then you get this blitz, sacrifice a foundation, one of the ones you just committed, no big deal. Search your deck selectively for a backup or a shift attack cards, reveal it, add it to your hand, and the next backup or shift attack you try to play gets -3 difficulty. So you get to selectively take the best shift attack card, be that like Female Titan Attacks, Beast Titan Attacks, put it in your hand, and then play it for -3 difficulty. And this also just has EX2 and Powerful 2 slapped onto it. I think that the player base at large says this is a really good card. They like it, but they're scared off by the fact that it's 8 difficulty and checks a 3. In a 4-check tribal deck, that's considered as basically a 2-check, although I don't think it's nearly as bad as a 2-check personally, but I'm just saying the player base at large kind of considers 3-checks and 4-check tribal decks to be like 2-checks, and then it's 8 difficulty, and I think people get scared off by that. But I think that it's absolutely broken. It's the best card in Attack on Titan Apocalypse. It's a top 5 attack in the game of universes, and it's going to be priced pretty similarly to Sweeping Daggers here pretty soon. So if you open one of these, I might hold on to it for a little bit before you sell it. At least in my opinion, I think that the price on this and the meta relevance of this is only going to go up and up and up as we go on. Okay. Yeah, the best things that you can pick up with this is like Beast Titan Attacks or Female Titan Attacks, because now you get to selectively pick up something that when it shifts, it also selectively picks up something, right? Beast Titan Attacks can add another Beast Titan Attacks. Female Titan can add like a knockdown blow or something to your hand, or you just get to, hey, draw a card and ready a backup. And you're playing these on 5s now because it's 7 + 1 progressive, but -3 difficulty. Maybe a throw just kills the person with Beast Titan Attacks. I think the fact that it's so selective is pretty insane. And you probably don't need to be playing more than 4 to 8 shift attacks to really have Resurrected Titans being consistent. Okay, next up we have Falco's Jaw Titan Attacks. I think this is the secret rare that gets slept on this set. Out of the 6 secret rares, everybody's excited about Falling Titans, Colossal Confrontation, and Warhammer attacks. I think most everybody would put that as their top 3, but I actually think that Falco's Jaw Titan attacks belongs as the 3rd best secret rare this set, and you should be very, very happy when you open it. The player base at large just thinks it's another Jaw Titan attacks. And who can blame them? Design kind of went for this. If we compare them together, they're similar stats. They're both 1 low blocks. They're both 6 difficulty, checking a 4. But I think that Falco's is easily a couple steps ahead of Jaw Titan attacks. In my opinion, it's more like female Titan attacks, which the female Titan attacks finds play outside of 4-check tribal decks, and then every 4-check tribal deck starts by 4xing it. You're always going to 4x female. I think if you're on a 4-check tribal deck, you will also always basically 4x Falco's Jaw Titan attacks. Let's consider why. Not only is it better stats than Jaw Titan attacks, because it has technically 1 less stat base, but then you're giving 4 speed to your next one, and you can do a zone mix-up. So maybe they have a nice high block. Do they have 2 nice high blocks? Because you can change your next attack to high as well. And then this backup side, I think, is so much better than Jaw Titan attacks. Lose 1 stamina, this attack gets +1 or -1 speed. Effectively, you play this, you shift it, and then every single one of your rival's attacks moves on their next turn is getting -1 speed. If you're going to be blocking it, you can give -1 speed. So now if you're a character like Rodan and you're already giving -3 speed to most rival moves, now you're giving -4 speed. And then it's also going to be giving +1 speed to your moves, and it can be a zone mix-up. And listen, I know vertical maneuvering equipment made us feel safe with our block zones, but in a post-VME world, I think that zone switch up, having access to that means a lot more. So I really, really like the Titan side of this, much more than the normal Jaw Titan attacks Titan side. And I think the front side is already better. 6 difficulty to a 4-check tribal deck list. That's kind of like playing a 3 difficulty attack, except even better, because in normal decks, right, a 3 difficulty attack, you always want to be as your 3rd attack or later in your string, because you don't want to waste the benefit of it being 3 difficulty, right? If you play it as your opener and then you check a 5, you kind of wasted those extra 2 resources in what you checked, because you could have just played a 5 difficulty and checked a 5 and been fine. But in 4-check tribal, we don't have any 7 checks or 8 checks. So you can play a 6 difficulty attack as your opener and feel pretty good about it. Even though it's your lowest difficulty attack, your sequencing of attacks don't matter as much. And so this one, that it helps your next attack, you can feel free to play it a little earlier, because at best you're checking a 6 and you have utilized every single resource in that check. Okay, Filled with Doubt. Infinity symbol action, I think it's going to be everywhere. After your rival plays an attack, seal it. I think the general player base says, hey, it's a sideboard card. I think they would rather main board different kinds of things, like main board a barrier shield, or main board a runaway, or these other powerful defensive actions, and then maybe put Filled with Doubt in their sideboard. But I think that this should be a main board card. I think that most decks should probably be running, at least 1 or 2 of this. Like if you're planning to play, it's similar to Moment of Normalcy to me. If you're planning to play a 4+ turn game, you're not ultra aggro, then you probably want to be playing 1 or 2 of these in your main board. And then you can side them out if they're blank. But if these are blank, then your rival attacks kind of suck, right? And I think the player base as a whole kind of thinks, well, you're not blocking the move and you're clogging your own card pool. You're losing a card in hand. And so those are real costs when it come down to it. But there's so many crazy attacks coming out that I think it's well worth it. So let's just consider some. First off, Resurrected Titans. No, you're not going to search your deck for a selective attack. No, you're not getting -3 difficulty to your next one. Also, EX2 and Powerful 2 are going to be blank. Colossal Confrontation. You're not going to ruin me. You're not going to shift it either. It even loses shift when you seal it. You're not building a card. You're not searching your deck. Sweeping Daggers. If you have really, really powerful attacks that you're playing that would be bad for Sweeping Daggers to copy, no, you don't have to put up with it. Determined Advance. Yes, I will mess with the speed. Walk the Dog. If they're going to play this as their finisher and they're depending on that powerful 3 to kill you, say they have like 3 momentum built up, you've done a good job blocking everything, but now you're kind of tapped out, your rival thinks you're safe, they play their Walk the Dog, and then you play Filled with Doubt. Even if you have like 3 other cards in your card pool, you still only have to check a 5, and then you're saying, nope, you're not going to kill me. You just tapped out to play that Walk the Dog, and now I'm going to kill you on the crack pack. Or like Ice Sword Execution. I will keep my best foundations in my stage. Falling Titans. You're not going to get off the funny combo of continuing to add Falling Titans to your hands over and over until I'm dead. I'm just going to go ahead and seal it. So there's so many powerful attacks that are great targets for Filled with Doubt. I would personally be mainboarding it. Okay, let's go outside of my top 10 cards. There's still a lot of really good cards in the set, but again, I want to be talking about the cards where there's a gap between how you perceive them and how I perceive them. I think we can all kind of agree that cards like Aerial Reinforcement and End the Cycle are quite good. Okay, so with that, I've got 7 more cards here. Undercover Infiltration. Just a uncommon spam foundation. Enhance, if this is the first attack you've played this turn, it gets +1/+1. Deadlock Enhance, flip, commit to rival foundations. I think most people perceive this as I'm scrolling on, right? It's just another spam foundation from Attack on Titan. You're not giving it a lot of thought when you're deck building. It doesn't jump off the page as better than other Chaos spam foundations. You know how you kind of like auto put in things like Fearsome Transformation into your deck. This one doesn't just jump out at you when you're building a deck on UVS Ultra. It's just +1/+1 to 1 attack. Well, there's 2 reasons that I think that this is actually more of a staple. When I'm building a Chaos deck, I will almost always be putting in a couple copies of Undercover Infiltration. Number 1, that top enhance is better than you give it credit for. Everybody thinks, well, +1/+1 is not a big deal. But most 1 difficulty foundations have to flip to be able to give 2 stats. Flip for 2 damage, flip for +2 speed, flip for -3 speed. This one is repeatable. So on every single turn, your poke attack gets an additional 2 stats. And your poke attack, your first attack of your turn is the most important attack of the turn for you. It's kind of going to set up the rest of your turn. And so this is either going to make your rival commit an extra resource to block your attack, or if they allow it to hit them, it's going to get that extra source of damage in. And then the best part about this foundation is it's got crazy deadlock on it. Flip, commit 2 rival foundations. That is game-winning deadlock. So you can commit down both, their Moment of Normalcy and a Broken Psyche, for example. Like, you just clear the way for you to win the game. And they don't have to be the same type, right? Like an Ice Sword Execution is a great opener in the late game because you can take down all of a rival's, 1 foundation. But Undercover Infiltration, we can pick 2 different foundations. So yeah, I'll take down the Invincible Body and I'll take down the Desperate Struggle. You'll have to give me both. I think that is such powerful deadlock that I'm willing to put up with like a B- top enhance because it's an A+ deadlock enhance. And there's so many decks where you're looking at them, you build it, it's feeling good, and then you realize I have nothing for deadlock. So like, how do I kill these prison decks once they get set up? My deck is incapable of doing it. If you have 3 or 4 of this in your deck, and especially like 2 in your stage, you are now capable of doing it. Okay, yeah, I think of it more like Practical Studies, except it's better than Practical Studies. But I would run, I was running 4x Practical Studies last year in my Jin list where I wanted to play a long game and I wanted to have a way to punch down wall decks once they got set up, and the deadlock on Practical Studies was great. And then I would just, it was a B- top enhance, a +1 speed if they haven't lost health this turn. But I think Undercover Infiltration is better than Practical Studies. And so because of that, it's going to be a staple in the long run. Next up, Dedicate Your Heart. 3 difficulty air foundation. Enhance once per turn, sacrifice a foundation, ready 1 foundation that's not been ready this combat phase. Deadlock enhance, flip, clear 2 cards from your card pool. I think most players view this as an average 3 difficulty foundation. Like, I think you watching this probably think, yeah, it's good. I don't disagree with you. I think it's good too. But I'm taking it a step further. I think it's the best 3 difficulty foundation on the air symbol. Like Science Bros, you think it's great? Well, I think in a post combined firepower world, it's not nearly as good as it once was. And I think Dedicate Your Heart is the best Air 3 difficulty foundation by quite a wide margin. I think if I'm an Air character, I'm almost always going to be slamming at least a couple of these in. The top enhance is better than we think, right? Because one, it's a sacrifice outlet. A lot of decks want to have some sort of sacrifice outlet in the long game. And then you get to pick the foundation you ready. You don't just have to ready like a face down foundation. So not only over a turn cycle could this be like 3 foundations, which everybody who plays Nice Try just loves to have that. But you get to selectively pick. So you can combo this off with like Moment of Normalcy to get 2 resets. Everlight's Grace, get 2 selective draws. Cancel 2 things on abilities of rival foundations. Plus 6 damage now on offense, or minus 6 speed now on defense. These are just simple spam foundations, but when you get to use them twice, they become really, really good. 4-check tribal deck, where you're okay playing lots of 3 difficulty foundations. Citywide Celebration says your next check to play an attack is +2. So +2 to your check, destroy 1, re-ready this, +2 to your next check again. That's like 4 foundations on that turn just from that one. So there's so many great combinations from that top enhance. And then the Deadlock enhance, it's not as good as Undercover Infiltration. It's just not a game-winning Deadlock enhance, but it's something. Flip, clear 2 cards from your card pool. On offense, you can go crazy. I mean, you already have you're in the late game, so you probably have quite a good stage built up, but now you get to flip and clear 2 and just keep attacking. Or maybe you're playing defense, and now as soon as you use that Deadlock enhance, it's like -2 speed to all of your rivals' future moves, because you don't really have to block on progressive anymore. So it's not a game-winning Deadlock, but I like having a very powerful top effect combined with a nice Deadlock that situationally could do very well for you. Okay, let's move to an attack after a couple foundations there. Rapid Transformation. 4 difficulty, 4 high, 4. If your rival cycled this game, build the top card of your deck face down and commit 2 rival foundations. Response, after this attack deals damage, draw 1 card. I think most people see this and just say Cycle Lock bad. And I say Cycle Lock, that's just kind of what I shorten all of these abilities of. If your rival has cycled this game, it's like an alternate Deadlock, right? Deadlock is your rival can play around it by keeping their foundations low. But Cycle Lock just says, hey, we've been playing this game for a little bit. We've played long enough to where you've cycled, so my effects have to go up. And I like that, having Deadlock be kind of controllable by your rival, but Cycle Lock, hey, eventually you are going to cycle if a game goes long enough. But as with most new abilities in the game, it's kind of undertuned, this set. You feel like they could have taken up the power level of these Cycle Lock cards just a little bit. So as a result of that, I think most people just kind of scroll on. Most people think of this as like, oh, it's just rapid punches. The 5 low 4 that if it hits draws you a card, and it was a 2 mid block, which rapid punches did see quite a bit of play. But I don't think anybody was like leaping out of their chairs to play it. Most of the time you played it because it had the punch keyword, and you wanted a punch attack package because they all cared about each other. But when I see Rapid Transformation, I see Vile Seizing. Which, look, Vile Seizing is not a incredible card in the game anymore, but it's still quite good. And let's just compare these two, right? Vile Seizing was 3 high 4, so worse stats than Rapid Transformation. Vile Seizing sometimes drew you a card, similar to Rapid, and Vile Seizing sometimes got a little bit better stats when it got the extra 2 damage. It was also a 1 block mod. It was a little bit better than Rapid because it has Breaker 1, and then it has this Deadlock enhance. Your rival's checks get -2 for the rest of the turn. That was game-winning Deadlock. So most people will be playing Vile Seizing because it's a perfectly fine attack to play in your deck, but it's got such strong Deadlock on it that it really, really scares your rival. And I think the Cycle Lock on Rapid Transformation, selectively committing 2 rival foundations, the build 1 face down is fine. But the selective commit 2, a lot of times is better than the Deadlock on Vile Seizing. Rivals checks get -2 for the rest of the turn, but maybe they have foundations in their stage where they're not even going to need to be making checks because things like Broken Psyche, Desperate Struggle, right? They're playing a lot of the defense without you having to actively be blocking attacks. Whereas Rapid Transformation, playing it as your opener once they've cycled and selectively committing 2 rival foundations, that's a game winner. Similar, very, very similar to the deadlock on Undercover Infiltration. I like these types of game-winning effects. Now look, it's just a B tier effect and it's kind of C tier stats. 4 high 4 if it hits draw a card. But at the same time, you're okay playing that in a lot of decks. It's perfectly fine before they've cycled, and then it becomes the best attack in your deck once they've cycled. So I think over time, players will start playing Rapid Transformation more. And who knows if Cycle Lock starts to become more prevalent in the game, or if this is just kind of an Attack on Titan Apocalypse only thing. You know, is it evergreen or deciduous mechanic, as Bill Stark would say. All right, Young Warrior candidates, back to a foundation. 3 difficulty, form, commit, add 1 card from your momentum to your hand. Most players look at this and say it's been tried before. We have lots of cards in Standard that add cards from your momentum to your hand. None of them have really seen meta play. Dark Tournament looms. This is one I thought was going to be good when it first came out. And then it's just like, well, actually, there's better actions that you could be playing. Add a card from your momentum to your hand, draw a card. It's a good action, but I'm struggling like right now to think of like top 8, top 16 decks over the last year and a half that have been playing this card. I'm positive there's been a few, but it's certainly not been all over the place. Ambush Thrust. Unless your name is TC, you probably haven't been playing this card much in the last year and a half. Hungry for Fame. Commit, flip, add a card from your momentum to your hand. So it's a 2 difficulty instead of 3 difficulty like Young Warriors, but it's one-time use for that lower difficulty. It's seen some play, but certainly not meta-defining. So it's been tried before. Most people think, yeah, it's good, but it's not going to be that great and it's not going to be everywhere. I think you're wrong, though. I think the form timing matters here. This is going to be leaps and bounds better than the 3 cards that I just showed you because of the form timing. All of these were enhances. This is a form. That means that you can use it before you play a single attack on your turn. You can grab the opener that you want from your hand. On all of these, you're wanting to pull like a 4 difficulty attack out of your momentum, right? You're wanting to pull an attack that is an extender in the turn, or you're trying to find like your finisher from your momentum. But on this one, you can also find your starter, your string starter, and having a very, very powerful string starter is important in this game. Again, that's the most important attack of your turn, is the opening one. So with this, you can go and find it in your momentum, or you could just pick up your momentum and then build from there. You could also pair this with like Dedicate Your Heart, the earlier one, to re-ready it and grab another momentum. Also, the form timing is going to matter when it comes to attacks like Dual Needle Lunge. Dual Needle Lunge sends itself to your momentum, and now you can form commit and then add that Dual Needle Lunge to your hand. We've had little loops before. We had like, who was one using it? Levi 1 from Attack on Titan Battle for Humanity, where he could play like Ambush Thrust and Dual Needle Lunge and do this loop. But the problem is that when you play the Ambush Thrust, you're adding in Dual Needle Lunge, and then you have to play Dual Needle Lunge on a 6. And that kind of feels bad. Whereas here, you can form, add it to your hand, play it on a 5. I think that form timing is going to take this to being a pretty solid staple in the meta. Okay, time for battle. Let's go to another staple foundation. Just a typical common foundation here. Sacrifice a foundation. After your rival's attack deals damage to your character, they commit 1 foundation. Most people, I think, look at this as like a bad sacrifice outlet. They don't love the trade-off of, I destroy 1 for you to commit 1. So for this turn cycle, we've made an even trade, right? We've both lost a foundation. But turn cycles going forward in the game, I have permanently lost a foundation, and your committed foundation could come ready back up. So most people are probably just kind of scrolling past this. They don't love the trade-off here. Whereas I think that this is like better than Frantic Rescue. You know, everybody this weekend is going to be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, playing in the regional, where one of the biggest prize cards is an alternate art of Frantic Rescue, which is this ultra rare, 2 difficulty, 4 check, flip. After you take damage from an unblocked attack, rival attacks get +1 difficulty this turn. There's lots of people that are very, very excited for this. There's a reason it's an ultra rare. But I think that this lowly common time for battle is better than Frantic Rescue. 1, it checks a 5. 2, it's a spam foundation and not 2 difficulty. And 3, it's reusable. There's going to be a lot of times where players are flipping their frantic rescue. They're going to be frantically flipping their frantic rescue, like players flip Keiko's Aid, and it doesn't matter. You wasted a resource. So many times people flip their Keiko's Aids after they block my attack, and I was going to build anyway. You know, like, you're going to be flipping your frantic rescue, your rifle would have built anyway. Time for battle is guaranteed value. I am going to commit one of your foundations. And it's repeatable in the same turn. So if you keep attacking me, I can force you to keep committing your foundations. And sacrificing a foundation, again, in my opinion, universes, so often that's not really a cost. I know that, you can't be playing a billion sacrifice foundation cards. Eventually it will become a cost. But if you're only playing some sacrifice foundation cards here and there, it's not really a cost. In fact, you want them in your deck so that you can selectively stay out of deadlock. And I love the idea of having like 2 of these out. Just saying, yeah, you can keep attacking me, but every single time I'm taking down 2 of your resources and you are going to completely die once you pass back to me. So, love that spam foundation. The Final Slash. 1 difficulty, 4 mid 5, breaker 1, 0 mid block. You cannot play this card as an attack unless your rival has 10 or less health or they have cycled this game. Once again, another cycle lock card, but it could sometimes be playable earlier. It's always online against like King Ghidorah. Or maybe you've played a long attack string and you've hit them down to 10. I think most people look at this and say stinky. We don't like play restrictions. We don't like playing an attack in our deck that we can't play on turn 2. We can't play, early on in the game. And then even then, it's just a 4 mid 5. It's not really doing anything. It's not drawing you cards. It doesn't have like powerful on it. I look at this and say, hey, it's a cute 2X. I look at Final Slash very, very similarly to like Teaming with the Attack Titan, where Teaming with the Attack Titan isn't really doing much other than sometimes being 1 or 3 difficulty. If you've played 4 attacks, it's 1 difficulty. If you've played 3 attacks, it's 3 difficulty. So other than that, it's 2 difficulty. If you've played 3 attacks, 1 difficulty for 4 attacks. But other than that, it's just a stats card. These are statted very, very similar. 4 mid 5 compared to 5 mid 5. And Final Slash is a much, much better block. So if decks right now can be meta relevant, finding room for Teaming with the Attack Titans, some decks even like 4x this and go crazy, then Final Slash, I don't see why it should be any different. And it's even better as a block. It's a 0 mid block. Nobody ever expects the 0 block modifier. And it says breaker 1. Now, if this said breaker 2, I would be so in on Final Slash, but it says breaker 1. It's still a very, very nice block to have in your hand. I think it's a lot better on defense than Teaming with the Attack Titan. So often you have Teaming with the Attack Titan in your hand for defense. Your rival doesn't even play low attacks. A 0 mid block is always online, no matter what zones your rival is playing, and you get the breaker 1 to go along with it. If you've played 4 attacks on your turn and it's like turn 2, what are the odds your rival's not under 10 health? You've probably knocked them down to 10 or less health. And then you can play this as your finisher, very similar to Teaming. So I'm not saying that I think the Final Slash is great. I definitely don't think it's great. I think it's a cute 2X in your deck. And I think more decks should be thinking about it. Whereas most players, I think they see the play restrictions, they just go, stinky, I don't really want it, moving on. I think players should be considering it. So you guys think it's bad, I think it's good. Last one, Dramatic Exit. 2 difficulty, unique foundation, commit. This attack gets plus X or minus X speed. X equals the number of backups in your stage plus 1. Most players, I think, look at this card and say it's inconsistent. Unless you have 2 backups in your stage, it's not even as good as Rifle Arm, which is already just kind of a fringe play card where if it's the first attack, it can be plus 3 or minus 3 speed. Other than that, it's always going to be plus 2 or minus 2. So you really need at least 2 backups just for this to kind of be online as good. But when I look at Dramatic Exit, I think backup decks have arrived. I think that Attack on Titan Apocalypse has really unlocked backup deck strategies. Now, we've seen some, right? We saw like Caduceus Clay be pretty good. Beast Titan, the first one, has gotten a lot better. Tam Cardwell's been all over him recently. I would say prepare for it in Albuquerque, but Tam's going to be on commentary. So we've had a couple like decently good backup decks, but they haven't been focused really on buildable backups. And I think Attack on Titan Apocalypse really unlocks buildable backup strategies. It's really making backups its true own card type. When they first came out, I thought they needed to be better than assets, and they were much worse. And then you could attack them and kill them. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, backups are kind of terrible. But as more and more sets have come out, we've kind of seen where the Universe's design team wants to take backups. And that's where maybe the backups aren't great on their own, but the cards and effects and strategies on other cards, non-backup cards, get really, really powerful depending on backups in your stage, deck, discard pile, what have you. We've had a couple characters that really like backups come out in this set. We've had Flock and the new Zeke. I was pretty low on them if you go back and watch my tier list video. But if you have to understand that when I made that tier list video, it was before we saw any of the set. We had just seen the characters. So I don't think I was wrong to be on low on them at that time. But today, I would certainly bump Zeke up 1 tier, maybe even 2 tiers, based on what we've seen and the cards that have been revealed. Flock, maybe I would swap with like Warhammer Titan to go up 1 tier a little bit. I still think I think Zeke is probably going to be the better of the backup characters. But, you know, and then my latest video, the infinity symbol problem in Attack on Titan Apocalypse, that got a ton of comments, generated a ton of buzz amongst the community. And I think I was being a little overly negative. I still stand by everything that I said about the infinity problem. Those cards do kind of annoy me, but I think I kind of let that annoyance at that specific problem kind of cause me to get annoyed at other cards in the set that didn't deserve my annoyance. So I kind of regret about like 40% of that video. I still don't like the infinity symbol cards being really strong. I don't like Moment of Normalcy, for example, and I don't like Unyielding Destruction. Even thinking about Unyielding Destruction, something deep inside me just doesn't like that card. And so it made me a little grumpy, I think, in my last one. But I want to give credit where credit's due. Attack on Titan Apocalypse, the designer of it, clearly did a great job at bringing backup decks kind of into a full-blown strategy where it has a seat at the table. You know, it can sit alongside actions, assets, and foundations. So these cards like Harness Undeath. And Harness Undeath was one of my biggest, you need to be buying this card in the last set. I did like a little market update video here a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago. And I said, like, if I was to pick 3 cards that I think are going to be going up in value, Harness Undeath would be one of them, because as backups get better, Harness Undeath will also get better. So now that we could be playing all these buildable backups, I could see Harness Undeath decks becoming a lot more popular. And then we can give Harness Undeath a lot of speed with Dramatic Exit. Like if we have 5 backups, we can say, hey, +6 speed to Harness Undeath. And then when it hits you, you're going to be burning for like 20. It's going to be something insane, the burn effect on Harness. Or like Falling Titans. We've already seen it. There's going to be a lot of like Elder Toguro 4 attack deck. It's just 4 Falling Titans. And then they play a ton of backups, and then they're adding Falling Titans back to their hand and just playing it over and over and over again. Maybe Flock, since he can build in these 1 and 2 difficulty backups very quickly, is going to be a Falling Titans deck. We're definitely going to see them. We're definitely going to see these decks. And these decks are going to like Dramatic Exit. We get a lot of like solid buildable backups. 1 difficulty Jaegerist Follower. At worst, it can commit for -1 speed, which is basically like turning itself into a foundation. Sometimes these can be like -2 speed. Now they are only 1 health, but I could see some decks playing lots of Jaegerist Followers. We got these like good buildable 2 difficulty backups here, like Kiyomi, Willy, Onyan, Kopone, Yelena. We've got a lot of solid backups. And I didn't put any backups on this list of like underrated cards because I think we all agree that these are pretty solid backups. A lot of these are acting like foundations. Like Willy, I love with Willy Tiber how we can sacrifice this card as though it were a foundation, so that if someone attacks Willy, you can just sacrifice Willy with one of your other effects in your stage and then abort the attack, right? Your rival has to abort the attack. It doesn't go to momentum. It does not pass go. And then it can also build you a foundation if you have equal or less foundations than your rival. Yelena can build you a foundation. Like I said with like Jaegris, these are like basically foundations on defense. Since they give -1 speed, it's effectively like you get to commit them to pass blocks. If you think about it in that way. So I think these buildable backup decks have really arrived with Attack on Titan Apocalypse. Dramatic Exit, I like how it's usable on defense and on offense. It's basically turning your backups into foundations on defense, because for every backup you have, it's an additional -1 speed. So it's kind of similar to the Jaegris follower thing. And then we can also turn around and just give a massive amount of speed on one of our attacks. I think it's going to be more consistent than players realize. So that is it. Those are the 10 underrated cards in Attack on Titan Apocalypse, where I think I'm a little higher than you as the viewer. Although tell me if I'm wrong. If you've been watching this whole video and you're just like, yes, he's so right, then I don't think I've done a very good job on this video, but I appreciate you agreeing with me. Okay, that is it. Tomorrow morning, I will be leaving for Albuquerque, where I will be on commentary alongside my colleagues Sam Tate, or Ace Maneuvers, and Tam Cardwell from Tam Cardwell, the YouTube channel. So me, Sam, and Tam will be on commentary for Albuquerque. If you're coming to Albuquerque, bring something really spicy, keep us entertained the whole time. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Friday, I'm going to get there in time for Retro. I'm just going to play my Todoroki MHA Spotlight deck for Retro and have fun in that. I'll also bring a Nezure deck in case I do get to play teams on Sunday. Probably won't get to play teams on Sunday because I'll probably still be on commentary, but there's a chance. So I'm going to bring Nezure in case. Really looking forward to getting Attack on Titan Apocalypse. This is the official release date. So we're all going to be opening boxes there from vendors and probably trading with one another. Apocalypse is going to be legal for all the side events, including teams, I believe. So you'll still get a chance to play with all these new cards and see them in action. The first major event for Attack on Titan Apocalypse, though, I think there's a regional in Australia, or the Oceania region. But then for US players, the first major event is probably going to be the next webcam circuit event. Let's Talk UVS X Tam Cardwell. It's going to be on June 7th. 5 rounds, cut to top 8, single day event. You know all about it. These are typically pretty popular. I would suspect we get at least 50 plus players for this one. So, even if you don't have a locals or you can't travel, webcam gives you a chance to be able to play. And then my last bold prediction that I'll sign off here with is that Nick Reagan wins Albuquerque. I think that the representation of Nick is going to be pretty solid. And I think that post-Albuquerque, Nick probably gets hit with an errata. We'll see. This is just my prediction. But who knows? Come and surprise me. Don't show up with Nick and just play a, boring. I shouldn't say Nick is boring. There's a lot of interesting ways to actually play Nick. If you show up with Nick, play like the fire version or something nobody sees coming. I just want to see some real spice this weekend, and I'm really looking forward to it. You can catch all the action on like twitch.tv/Universus. That'll start at 10 a.m. Central Time, I think, on Saturday. All right, guys, I'll see you in Albuquerque.